Friends, buddies, pals, how you doing? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to a Friday filler. It's been a long time coming, I know, I'm sorry. I've been busy, I'm a bit crap, and just haven't had time. Anyway, lots of people asking me throughout summer about how and why and when to use a poly leader. If you watch my videos, then you'll know I've become a pretty big fan of the floating clear poly leader from Orvis, which I've been using pretty much for the last 2 summers now. I'm just going to run you through why I use it, when I use it, and how to use it. In here I've got myself some different leaders, but I've got myself a clear poly leader right here. Now, if you're in New Zealand, you can go online, you can go to the Kilwell website, and you can get poly leaders from there. You can get floating ones, intermediate ones, sinking ones, different kinds of sinking ones. But what I'm talking about today is the clear floating one. Now, a poly leader, it's almost like an extension of your fly line, but it's clear. This is 7 feet long, and it goes from a welded loop, tapers down to a tippet ring, and then basically you can build your leader off of that. I guess the reason I use it is when you need to fish really long leaders, it just helps you turn that rig and those flies over a little bit easier. If there's a bit of wind, it helps you punch into that. When you get one of these, this is what you get out of the packet. So you have a welded loop at one end, which is this guy here, just like a fly line. As you can see here, it's like a similar kind of thickness to a fly line, and that just tapers down very, very slowly for 7 feet until you get to this end here where you have a little bit of core exposed. And then what I do here is I tie on a tippet ring. And then the reason I tie on a tippet ring is that every time I build my leader off that, if I don't have the tippet ring, I'm cutting back and I'm cutting into that core, and eventually you're going to run out of core, like I almost have here. Obviously, I don't know if you can see that right there, but you can see that tiny bit of core there is actually normally a bit longer than that. So I think I actually broke this, which is why it's so short. But anyway, I saved it by adding a tippet ring, and from now on I won't cut back into that and I can still use this. You only really need to think about using one of these, I reckon, if you're using leaders over that 15 feet. Anything under 15 feet, 10, 12, 13 feet, you can get away with just using a tapered leader like normal. It doesn't really make that much difference. Once you start getting over that 15 feet, especially if you're using dries, droppers, maybe bushy, dry fly, cicadas, that kind of thing, there's a bit of wind involved, just a few different factors. I've just found it was a little bit easier to present rigs on those really long leaders with one of these on. And it actually took me probably 6 months to get used to it and decide that I actually liked it, because it just fishes so differently. So you've got to change the way you cast a little bit just because of the nature of the energy transfer and all that kind of stuff. But when it came down to it, I stuck with it, and I'm pretty sold. I really like them. Only good for like dry dropper rigs, maybe light nymph rigs where you're not actually going to be nymphing much deeper than sort of 7 or 8 feet deep. Once you get to big pieces of water, deep pools, fast water, where you want your flies to sink straight to the bottom really quickly, this kind of gets in the way and doesn't work so well. So what I tend to do then is take that off and build my own straight through leader setup, and that means I can nymph more effectively. If you want to see how I do that, I'll link that video up here. You can go check it out. You can see what I'm talking about. I totally understand it's not for everyone. Anything under 15 feet, you don't need it, not really. It took me a while to really work out that I liked it, and this is all down to my buddy Patrick. He was using it 1 year while we were fishing together and kind of piqued my interest, and well, basically he's to blame. So it's a 7 foot clear, almost extension of your fly line. Add a tippet ring, and then you can build your leader to whatever length off of that. So if you have your poly leader and then you build 10 feet a leader off of that, you'll effectively have a 17 foot leader. But 7 foot, that is kind of fly line. So it helps just present those rigs. Brings with it its own issues as far as in really skinny flat water. I have definitely spooked fish from this slapping down on the water too hard. As with everything, it has its pros, it has its cons. But for me, until I change my mind, the pros outweigh the cons, and I'm going to keep fishing this. I hope that answers some questions. I hope that clears it up a little bit. Not necessary unless you're using really long leaders. I don't know actually anyone else that uses this setup and they catch a ton of fish. So each their own. If you do get one and you try it out, just give it some time and let yourself get used to it, because like I said, it took me a long time to get my head around it, and for months there I was like, I don't think I like this. But it turns out, once I got used to it, I actually do. Alright, have a great weekend everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday. We'll go fishing.